Yeah, it's working. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well, you can first introduce yourself.
yeah. My name's Twan.
Yeah.
I think 5 years ago I graduated from the same master's program as you have. So I worked for 1 year in Ireland on
Yeah. Nice.
seaweed and health and especially animals,
Uh-huh.
but in animal nutrition, but also the implications for human health. I saw the opportunity there. I just thought it was very strange that we as humans don't eat seaweed, whereas it's so good for animals and so sustainable to actually to farm it. So, and when I started cooking with it, I was like, okay, so it even tastes nice. So there's absolutely no way of not eating it. So that's why
Mhm.
I just started making seaweed burgers first on a very small scale. I first had a job also here. And well, I just like 3 years ago, I just started
Mhm.
to go for it.
Mm.
And well,
Sounds nice.
now I made a cookbook, and we're selling four kinds of seaweed burgers in 250 Albert Heijn stores. So it's
Yeah.
not bad.
Yeah, we have tried them already. They're
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah, you like them?
Yeah. They're nice. Yeah,
Good,
we like
Yeah,
them.
good.
yeah. It's
Yeah,
the first time also I tried the seaweed, like apart from sushi. So
Yeah.
yeah, it was really nice. It was interesting.
which one did you get?
The
The
salmon
salmon.
one.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The salmon one.
Good,
Yeah. It's
good to
nice.
hear.
Yeah.
Glad to hear that. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No, it's
Well, so. Mhm.
always good when people, um, to get direct feedback from your customers is a
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
valuable thing because, of course, first I was out on markets, so every week I hear from people every week on the market on Saturday or Sunday. I hear from them, oh, it's nice, but maybe you could use a little bit more of this or that.
Oh, so
So
you.
every week I improve, and then the next week we have a slightly better burger.
Oh,
So
Oh,
nice.
that's nice.
that's
Yeah.
how we improved in the first year. So that was 2015. I was still making all the burgers by myself together with a friend of mine.
Oh.
And but now, since we have upscaled production into the factory, and it goes directly to, there's several production runs, and of course, it's never totally the same. So also sometimes we hear sometimes from people, that it's a bit too salty or a bit
Yeah.
Yeah.
this or that. But it's only when they take the time to email us. So a lot of people we don't hear anything from at all, like how they find a burger. So
Mhm.
but it's very valuable information. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. But I also think that just customers don't really email every time the company to how
I'm
they can
sure.
use the products, of course.
Yeah.
Mm.
So I think that was maybe for you. Was it a big step to go in the seaweed market? But because there's not like a big market for it right now, or there are not a lot of products for it. So how did you
Yeah.
do that? Understand what I what
And
I
how
want
did
to say?
you know that people will accept your product? Yeah, will accept
Mm.
the seaweed and
Yeah, that's a good question because first I was selling on food markets and festivals, and actually to my own surprise, we were usually the first stand to actually sell out if
Whoa.
there were the right people. Um, sometimes we were at some organic fair in I don't know, Lutjebroek or somewhere, some really small village, and we sell nothing. You just everybody just wants to have the fries with mayonnaise. But
Yeah.
yes,
if you go somewhere a little bit more open-minded, then people would usually, they would usually try the alternative to meat or the alternative protein source or the food of the future, or they're really curious.
yeah,
But curiosity is one thing that you want some product that also keeps
Yeah.
going and going and keeps selling. So what we also tried is just at the local fish store, fish boer. How would you
yeah,
pronounce
The
it in
fish store.
English?
Yeah.
I don't know,
Yeah,
Fish,
I guess.
yeah.
the fish shop, and just put them there and see what happens.
Uh-huh.
So for 1 week, let's say.
Okay.
So it was next to the fish everywhere,
Yeah.
people could buy it, and the the guy who was selling it, he was keeping an eye on it for us. And actually, people were coming back for the burgers.
Oh,
Oh,
that's very nice.
Not everyone though. We still
yeah.
no, but at least there was some repetition in
Uh-huh.
the sales, and especially because it's just vegetarian fish. That's what
Mhm.
seaweed is. So, um, yeah, you gotta love the taste of the sea. So that was initially the right place for a product.
Mhm.
But then I met my business partners, the guys I'm working with now, and they were very good friends with Albert Heijn and still are. And they were saying that Albert Heijn really wanted some seaweed products on the shelves.
Mhm.
So it was actually more a question of demand. And we were
Yeah.
thinking like, okay, if Albert Heijn is ready, then we might get ready to, sell at
Yeah.
Albert Heijn's. So that's a bit how it went.
Okay,
Okay.
yeah, because
Bless.
well, I think it's different when you sell it like already done and people are curious, but it's easier maybe when you are in the street and you just sell it like, okay, they're just curious or and they are just going to buy it. But if you have to buy it in the supermarket without not knowing how to cook it or
Yeah.
not knowing how it will
How it
taste,
tastes.
maybe there are not so many curious people. So yeah.
Exactly. And that's our major problem at the moment, actually.
Yeah.
It's not the quality of the burgers,
Uh-huh.
but it's people getting to know them, to know seaweed and what to do with it.
Yeah.
And also have a bit of value in your mind for people. Like seaweed should get value in your mind.
Yeah.
you
And
know
and how do you deal with that right now? That
Mm. Yeah, we have several plans. Like one is to go out to, let's say, 100 Albert Heijns and do tastings.
Mhm.
yeah.
It's very expensive, very time consuming, but it might be something that just kickstarts it to get the fire going. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Something else would be to organize, let's say, for our 100 biggest fans, one fan day, and just to show them everything about seaweed.
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
Make sure that they not also only become fans in buying it, adopting it, but also sharing with their friends.
Yeah.
Okay.
So to facilitate that, and yeah, that's also, it was very time consuming, but that might be very valuable.
Mhm.
We're also thinking now, well, we're already doing it. Um, Recording videos. So I have a YouTube channel in which we explain a lot about seaweed. So really show that, okay, well, this is wakame, and it's different from dulse and different from sea spaghetti. And with wakame, if you put it in water, hot water, it will turn green like in 1 minute, and it will grow 10 times in size. And people will go like, really, is that seaweed? Yeah, and if you bake it, then it does taste like bacon. Really? uh, Things like that. But
Yeah.
it's also, we would like to have it a bit of like people, our brains work in a sort of a different way than scientists mostly think. You know, it's on the one hand, we have to know it's healthy and it's good for the planet and blah 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 blah. But in the end,
Oh, my door's opening. Sorry, I will
something's
just close the
knocking on the door.
The door just open alone.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Okay.
Poltergeists.
Sorry.
No worries. No, but in the end, it all comes down to emotions. So emotional associations also. So it has to be really tasty. That's the one thing. But also people in positive associations. So we try to make its association with the beach, going to the beach, also surfing. So surfing makes you fit. It's the coolest thing to do in the ocean. And in order to stay fit and stay healthy, you have to eat a lot of seaweed. That's how also it worked for me. Seaweed made me more fit, so I could stay in the water longer, surf more waves. And I have a crazy plan. I don't know. I just made it up this morning. um, I want to go surfing in Iceland
Yeah.
without a wetsuit, so in the shorts in winter.
That's cold.
Yeah.
I want to catch one wave, and then it would be enough. So this morning I talked to a friend of mine, a biologist. She does the training for the Iceman, Wim Hof. You may know him. Like it's a technique so you can Wim Hof, the Iceman.
No, I don't know.
Ever heard of him?
No.
Like he's this crazy old guy who swims under the Arctic for like 100 meters, and he stays in baths with ice cubes for 5 hours, things like that.
Oh, God.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So, but he has a technique, very, it's based on Chinese traditional breathing techniques, which really makes you focused and alert, so your body can actually bear the cold. So, I was also in an ice bath already
So
Oh my
cold.
for
God.
like maybe 5 minutes, and as every morning I like the last 1 or 2 minutes I turn the shower, turn it cold.
Uh-huh.
So, but I think you can train this a bit more,
Yeah.
and then you can stay in the water for let's say 5 minutes, maybe catch one wave. But it would be good to generate some media attention towards seaweed and towards. So
Oh,
it's
yeah.
things like that make the positive association that that it gets a bit emotional for people. Also, like when they think of seaweed, now they think of the slimy stuff on the beach. But maybe then they think of, oh, that's that crazy guy with or that's that cool stuff that tastes like bacon when you bake it. Things like
yeah.
that.
I think it's nice to have an
Yeah.
association with it. Yeah.
Yeah,
But,
yeah. So that's and if you look at the into consumer science, there has been some research has been done, and also on insects, microalgae, things like that. And for microalgae, people don't really like them, the taste of it. Insects is different, the taste is good, but people feel a lot of disgust.
yeah.
And with seaweed, at the moment, they don't feel a lot. there's not something. It's not a major thing.
Oh, really?
Probably they didn't take the right seaweed species because some
Yeah,
some of
I
them
think
are okay.
they're
Some
common from the Asian food, right? Like, so it's like, I think, at least for me, when I think in seaweed, I associate it with Asian food,
Yeah.
like Japanese or something like that. Yeah, but
Yeah,
like
exactly, yeah.
right now, how do you like so far? How did you attract people? Because at least me, I haven't seen too much marketing about your burgers, or
Mhm.
no.
I mean, I didn't like in the supermarket they were there, but they were like not really. You cannot really see. Oh, this has.
I need to
wakame,
try
or-
this.
Yeah.
Or, yeah.
No, that's a good question actually. How we do marketing? That's where I guess it went wrong a bit because Albert Heijn they promised a lot, to make a lot of publicity, generate a lot of publicity. That hasn't happened to the extent we wanted it. So maybe that will happen still, but we have to be more in touch with them. On the other hand, we decided to write a cookbook,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and by making a cookbook, you usually get a lot of media attention, and from media attention, people see you as the expert, and as the expert, you get to stage, blah blah. So last week I was in the duurzame 100. Sustainable, the sustainable summit. So you would get 3 minutes on stage there, because I'm also a member of the Duurzame Jonge 100, so the sustainable young leaders of the Netherlands. So you get like 3 minutes of stage time there, so everybody knows you. Next In 2 weeks, I will be on TEDx Amsterdam. So those things like that. So we invested in that, and it's really, I still feel like it's a bit underground, you know. Some
Yeah.
music, you know, for years already it's been underground, and all of a sudden, you know, one song comes out and it's mainstream. Like some crazy guy discovers it, and it's just like, wow, this is so cool, a good story, a good song. Well, same with Seaweed. So it can be around, but it's also like that's how the mind also works. If the mind is you're preoccupied or with it, you already know it's there. You know what I mean? You cannot know from all of the supermarket. There's on the average supermarket is 30,000 products.
Yeah.
They
That's a
cannot
lot.
all, and they all want to be distinct and distinguished from the rest.
Yeah.
But by wanting that, it's also like everybody's good. Like if everybody's screaming, nobody hears you.
Yeah. I
So
know.
you have to be smart, and you have to be, yeah, go out somewhere and find the right people, and find the right tune, and then yeah.
Who would you say is your market target? Like, who is the people who buy your product?
We have to find this. It's age 20 to 45. No, 25 to 45. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So young enough to make a change, old enough to do it consciously. I would say it's more towards women than towards men. Because women usually, I think 90% of the people who are our fans, they're women. They're more into seaweed than men because you know it's healthy and it's sustainable, and usually they do the grocery shopping.
Yeah.
Yeah,
In
true.
general, like
Yeah.
and if men do it, they generally they buy meat, you know,
Yeah.
still because that's really cool. Um, mm, so yeah, Um, what is it? Yeah, people who with quite some income, so like average to above average income.
Mhm.
Um, Not a lot of time, so it has to be convenient, quick, easy to make. Like burgers fit into there perfectly, and yeah, that's what we're sort of
Did you
aiming
know?
at.
Did you know that from the beginning, or you just found out after, like, you put the product in your market, or you just you were targeting them?
No, we were first we thought like what would be a good group, and some market research has been done. So this is the consumer focus group, and then we developed the products towards them.
Okay.
So what would be a taste would they would like, you know? And sun-dried tomato and green curry. That's the vegetarian burgers. That's so in that range. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like if we would say a shrimp flavor or beef flavor or something like that, that's a totally different group. That's the 2 minute noodles sort of thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, well, it's things like that. Or if we would do something completely new, like we are developing something some ready to go meal now, but it's really it has to be so simple, like because people have not more than 1 minute at a time, you know. So it has to be all good, all, and then, you know.
Okay.
So it's hard to do, but it's when you think of things beforehand, like that's where we want to go, that's how we want to do it. Then usually, generally, we'll get there. We're not there yet, but we're still working on it.
Was it successful when you, like, the first time you released the product?
What do you define by successful?
Was it what you expected, or you expected more people to buy it, or you had to change something?
No, we expect more people to buy. Still, we do. If we don't do anything yet, like we have some fans, like people that buy the product again and again, but not enough. So if you look at sales in Albert Heijn, it's maybe four packages for each type of burger per store per week. and it must go to like 6 or 7 or 8 before it's like safe. So
Yeah.
the Albert Heijn will keep us forever.
Yeah.
That's the sort of the trade-off, or the threshold that we're aiming at, both of us. So yeah, that's it's interesting how that is. So that's, in that term, we're not successful. On the other hand, if you look at what some other vegetarian burgers or some recent introductions have done, we're not doing that bad. So it's actually, yeah, that's how it goes in business, and it's still hard for me to comprehend. Like sometimes you are successful, sometimes it's not what you expected,
Yeah.
but then you have to still try and change things. Like, for example, we get the comment from some people that the burgers are very salty, the fish burgers. So, and it's how we look. What is that? That is in general the salt content in general, but also the way the dough is mixed for the burgers. So it's not mixed well enough. So we have to change some things in the production, and also change the salt. The vegetarian burgers, they get a bit too dry. So we have to add something in that keeps the moisture in, so they can retain more moisture, and it will be even cheaper.
Yeah.
And yeah, and then we have some we have someone who's doing product management and product development now. He's working on that, so very happy with that. And we're gonna see what comes out. But if we don't improve the burgers, let's say until before January,
Mhm.
Yeah.
then probably we might lose Albert Heijn as a customer down the line later on next year.
Uh-huh.
Well, I think it's nice that you really have the interaction with the customers and that you react on what they
Yeah.
want.
Yeah, well, something I like a lot about your product, for example, is like, at least when I read the label, like it was all clean, like let's say
Yeah.
like clean label, like it's like really
Yeah.
like this seaweed and fish, and maybe you add some ingredient, but
herbs or
really, yeah,
something.
but it's
Yeah.
really clean. So that's something I
Yeah.
liked a lot. Like when I saw the product, I didn't expect that at all, compared with other products which are sold. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And what do you think are the most triggers for customers to buy your product?
To buy it.
Yeah.
Mm,
Here's or the sorry, I mean the barriers. Why
the
they
bear.
don't buy, why they are not buying your product. Sorry.
It's like I said, lack of emotional bonding with seaweed or with the brand,
Mhm.
which we can still do about it. That's number one. Number two is um, so many distractions in the supermarket. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? It's so hard to stand out.
Yeah, and the products
Yeah.
are especially in the big Albert Heijns, right?
Yeah,
So it's a lot of competition, I think.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, we're seaweed is too actually within our brains. Seaweed is just the seaweed part is a bit too small. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it must grow a bit, and we must nurture this a bit. And us also, as a seaweed sector, we're working on this like together. To give the
Yeah.
right the right information to the media, talk to the voeding centrum about the right education,
Yeah.
things like that. And because nobody knows anything about seaweed at the moment in the Netherlands still.
I think
Not in
that's
terms of nutrition, like it's terrible. Like also,
yeah.
I work with journalists sometimes from NRC, and
Yeah.
what they put, like they make an article, let's say, and they send it to me. I say, I think, like, how can you write this? Like, this is not
Yeah.
good. That's not right. That's not right. And it's also, yeah, it's a general lack of knowledge. It's also like, and the main thing is that seaweed is so new. It's not one species. It's 10,000 species.
Yeah.
And they're all very different in terms of nutritional value, in terms of taste, in terms of looks, color, everything.
Yeah.
So, and then we want to talk about seaweed in general. It's crazy. Like
Yeah.
some seaweeds contain, all seaweeds are high in iodine, but some seaweeds are 1,000 times more in iodine than the rest of the seaweed. And also in terms of that, people are pretty afraid that there's too much iodine in it. There's a certain health conscious club of people who is really afraid of that. So yeah, it's a lot of work to do.
It's interesting. Like there is like almost not information, and still there is people who is afraid of something.
Yeah.
Because
So
I
it's
think
either lack of information or still because nobody knows anything, the wrong information.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's a big barrier. Yeah. So why did you decide to become an entrepreneur? It's like the main question.
I wish I still wasn't. No, no, seriously. Why? Because I felt that I could make a difference with my seaweed burgers, with seaweed in general, with the knowledge I had, and nobody at the moment was doing anything with seaweed in Europe, not in terms of nutrition. So I started to do it myself because nobody wanted to give me, like, let's say, €2,000 a month. So to go and develop this, what I've developed now. So I just decided I will do it for myself. I was thinking like this, it will take so much time and energy, and it has, and it still does. But it's also it, I get a lot of back, a lot of personal growth because I have to go through everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not like I go to the office every day and I get my salary, and it's really like you get what you give.
Yeah.
And also in terms of energy, in terms of growth. So for myself also to grow and for the fun. What can be more fun to do what you want? Like
Also very important.
Yeah.
all they can let all the dreams come true, and sometimes they're also nightmares, your dreams. So
Yeah.
it's it's been everything and nothing and everything at the same time. It's good.
And if we want to become an entrepreneur, do you have any advice for us?
Three advices.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll write it down.
Yeah. First is just.
Yeah.
Second is do.
Just do
And
it.
third is it.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what everyone says. Like, it's still now. I mean, entrepreneurship is really about doing, not only about thinking. We go through your high school, university, just thinking, which is really healthy. But most of us lose the doing part,
Mm-hmm.
or at least the acting upon what we know. And
And applying your
Right.
knowledge.
I think it's also like fear, right? Like I think we never do it because of fear. So
yeah,
something.
why are we afraid? Because we never do it. So it's
Yeah.
a vicious circle that we keep intact.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't have to. Like, what I've learned also is I'm always free. Free to do whatever. Like, free to have a job, free to not have a job, free to work until 2 a.m. in the morning, free to say at 2 p.m., like, okay, that's it, I'm going surfing. Things like that. But we are always free in our decisions, in our minds. So we can be free in real life. It's just a matter of practicing that as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, and what do you expect for your company future? What are you? Yeah. What do you want it to become? What do you want to improve, or maybe become international or something like that?
No, there's a few things. The most important thing is consciousness. And that is, I would like everyone to be seaweed conscious. So to know exactly what seaweed is, how beautiful it is, how you can cook with it, what it tastes like, at least everyone would know 5 different species of seaweed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's also why we call it sea green. You can see it. So to see the future and see the green. And it's not only about seaweed, but also like the background, like because it's super healthy. So it consists of everything we lack in our Western diet. So fibers, vitamins, minerals, etc. So people will see that and also see the sustainable part, or at least the sustainable potential. And that's where we're getting to point number 2, because on the one hand, if people will become seaweed conscious, the demand on the market for seaweed will increase by 100 or 1,000-fold. At the moment, most of the seaweed we get in Europe is still hand harvested, which means it's on the one hand very expensive.
Yeah.
On the one hand, completely organic, still out of the natural environment. But there will be not enough seaweed to hand harvest in the wild. So I cannot say so much about it, but at the moment we are also working on a seaweed farm in Ireland to grow tasty seaweeds. So only the nice tasting species. Yeah. And the main idea behind that is to develop a technique not only to harvest seaweed, but also to go through all the processing steps in order for it to be food secure and still have the great taste, you know? And once we have that, sorry?
Can you do that? Is it feasible to grow that kind of like seaweed? Like I don't know. I think it feels like it's like when you grow fish in a box. In a box. Like it changes.
In a seaweed or in a fish farm, you mean? There's actually if you look at movie there's some videos on YouTube. If you Google it, seaweed farming or something like that, you will already see existing techniques to farm seaweed out at sea. So most of the techniques are still available, but mainly all this seaweed in Asia is for the Asian market, where the food quality and food safety standards are not that high. Okay. And like still 99% of the seaweed that is grown and sold on the market is still for food additives. So like a lot of things are extracted from it. So it's not the real seaweed that you get. It's not the whole food, so to say. Okay. We want people to eat this whole food. So like it's better to eat like let's say a whole banana than just the sugar from the banana, let's say.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, so we would like everyone to eat this seaweed as it is, because it has a lot of value in our kitchen and in our food chain, and we can do it sustainably, totally, and and this would be like a big dream if we could scale up this production through demand. So first create the demand and then create the supplier, basically at the same time, of course. So we don't get a huge shifts and swings in supply and demand. Then we would make the world a lot more sustainable, because we can feed the whole world with 2% of our oceans.
Okay, I didn't know that.
This is insane. Like it's a crazy statistic. There will be no future food problems whatsoever if we all would eat seaweed, or at least use. Well, we don't have to eat nothing but seaweed, but we could also use, for example, the protein in it to feed our cattle. So we don't have to go to soy production. We don't have to destroy the rainforest, things like that. And I'm saying we could with 2% of our ocean's waters, but if we would get realistically, let's say 0.5% of our ocean's waters into seaweed farms. So like 1% is actually really good, a good area with a lot of nutrients for seaweed. So it will really grow fast. It's like it will deliver to the expectations there. So if we get half of the area, those areas, for seaweed cultivation, so seaweed will have a valuable place within our diet and our society. Yeah, I will be very happy. At the end, I will be a seaweed granddad with
So
with
you're
gray
already
seaweed hair
thinking,
and things like that.
you're
Uh,
already thinking new products, or
Am I developing new products?
yeah, you're thinking on new products, or you just try to fix it to your burgers and make them better?
No. We work on something. I cannot tell you so much about this yet because it's a very interesting idea.
Okay.
I just did the first initial product development last Friday, and it's gonna be. It looks really cool.
Oh, nice.
Then we're thinking about lasagna, about soup, about salads. So lasagna is pretty much ready. Soup has a little bit of trouble now. Spring rolls, salads, things like that.
Nice.
So
Yes.
Yeah,
That's a
sounds good.
challenge,
Yeah.
pretty nice. Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds nice.
Yeah. So yeah, I think we have covered more or less everything. Oh yeah. The last question, if you could improve something like from the past, if you could change something, what would you do?
This one is funny.
I would say like everyone has a certain feeling about how things will work out. Some people call it intuition. As an entrepreneur, this intuition is constantly challenged, and you are constantly sort of life is very demanding. Sometimes you make choices, not based on intuition, but indeed what you say in terms of fear or in terms of I have to be in some certain system or otherwise this and that won't happen. I have in one specific case totally worked against my intuition for, let's say, almost a year, and worked with the wrong people. And this was the worst. That's had the worst outcome ever. Like on short term, it went really fast and boom, and we were working with these people. We had a kitchen, we had a small network, we had somewhere to store the burgers, we had somewhere to make the burgers, we had but in the long run, they were not the right partners, and they sold themselves as the partners. And first, my initial intuition said, and still, like, these are not the right people, but they had the right things, blah blah blah. But there's something inside that always knows better.
Yeah.
But always listen to that, because in the end, what always keeps me running no matter what is a good energy. That you feel that you, no matter what goes wrong, like in the outside world, what you're doing and the people you work with and whatever, it's still okay.
Okay.
I went wrong once there, and never gone wrong again. So that's what I learned. But it was a hard lesson, and in the end, it cost a lot of time, a lot of energy.
You made it up, so
Yeah.
You made it out of there. Hopefully you get better. We will try to spread the word about seaweed.
Yeah.
Please do
And
so.
maybe we can try some new seaweed products in the
Yeah.
future, like the salad or.
The lasagna
Yeah, that
sounds
sounds
good.
nice. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So thank you very much again for meeting us for the interview.
Yeah, thank you very much for
Yeah.
your time.
I hope it helps you with the report and all that. So,
Yeah, a lot.
It was very inspiring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
My pleasure.
It was really nice to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
Oh,
thank
good
you
luck
very much,
with
and,
everything.
good luck.
Yeah. Would you like to? Because we have to kind of. I don't know how to say, like, evaluate ourselves, the
Mhm.
interview, and get to an outcome, and how kind of describe you and your personality, or how we see entrepreneurship from you. So would you like to get a copy of that, or would you be interested?
Please.
Or yeah,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah, that'd be awesome.
That's
Yeah,
good. Yeah.
okay. So we will send it to you when we finish.
Yeah.
please. Yeah,
Please.
please do so. Yeah,
Okay.
Okay, yeah, then we'll stay in touch, I think.
no problem.
Okay.
Cheers. Bye now.
Bye.